Off the northwest coast of Scotland lies a lonely cluster of rocks known as the Flannan Isles. Wind-blasted, isolated, and surrounded by treacherous waters, these islands have always carried an air of mystery. But in December 1900, something happened there that has puzzled historians, sailors, and investigators for more than a century. 3 experienced lighthouse keepers vanished, completely, utterly, without a trace. No bodies, no clues, no answers. This is the chilling, eerie true story of the Flannan Isles Lighthouse Mystery. The Flannan Isles are small, jagged islands in the Outer Hebrides. No trees, no shelter, just endless wind and stone, and the cries of seabirds that nest there. The Flannan Isles Lighthouse, perched on Eilean Moor, had only been operational for 1 year when the mystery unfolded. 3 men were stationed there: James Duckett, principal keeper; Thomas Marshall, second assistant; Donald MacArthur, occasional keeper filling in; Joseph Moore, the relief keeper on mainland duty. Together, they kept the lantern burning to protect ships from the deadly Hebridean coastline. But in December 1900, this desolate place became the center of one of history's greatest unexplained disappearances. The last confirmed sighting of the keepers was on December 7, 1900, by the captain of a passing ship who noted the lighthouse shining normally. But between the 7th and the 15th, ships began reporting something strange. The lighthouse light had gone dark. This was extremely unusual. The light was vital for navigation, and its absence meant danger. Still, due to stormy seas, investigators couldn't reach the island right away. It would take 11 days before relief keeper Joseph Moore and a small crew could finally set out. What he found would haunt him for the rest of his life. On December 26th, the relief ship Hesperus arrived at Eilean Moor. Captain Harvey blew the ship's whistle. No one came out. He fired a signal rocket. Still, no response. Moore became increasingly nervous. He later said he felt a deep sense of dread, even before stepping ashore. When he climbed the steep stairs carved into the cliffs and reached the lighthouse entrance, he found the door locked. Inside, the clock had stopped. The fire was out. Meals were untouched. A chair was toppled over, and 2 sets of oilskins, the heavy coats needed to go outside, were missing. But the 3rd set, still hanging in place. One of the men had left the lighthouse without his coat. Inside the lighthouse, investigators found the logbook, and its entries were disturbing. The writing suggested severe storms, described as the worst they had ever seen. But here's the strange part. No storms were recorded in the area during those dates. Nearby ships reported calm weather. The logbook also mentioned Duckett very quiet, Marshall crying, highly unusual for a hardened keeper, storm still raging, men praying. The final entry? Storm ended, sea calm, God is over all. December 15th. But there was no storm. Whatever they experienced, it left the men terrified. Outside the lighthouse, investigators inspected the western landing platform, a narrow dock area constantly battered by waves. What they found sent chills through the crew. Several objects were damaged or missing. A metal rail bent out of shape, a large storage box ripped from its bolts, ropes scattered and tangled. A rock weighing over a ton moved several meters, grass torn up near the cliff edge, a life buoy missing. This suggested that massive waves had struck the island. But why would 3 experienced keepers go out into such dangers together? Keepers never left the lighthouse unattended. Something unusual must have pulled them outside. The most widely accepted theory is the rogue wave theory. A single giant wave, sometimes over 100 feet high, could have slammed into the platform with catastrophic force. The idea is, one man went out to secure equipment. He was swept away. The second ran out to help. The third followed without his coat, panicked. All 3 were taken by the sea. It's logical, but it doesn't explain the terrifying diary entries about storms no one else saw. Another theory suggests isolation may have caused delusions, paranoia, panic, a breakdown of group cohesion. One man may have snapped, causing a deadly struggle near the cliffs. The bodies then washed away. But again, these were seasoned keepers, hard men, not prone to emotional collapse. Why would all three break at the same time? Some locals believe that something otherworldly happened, something that frightened the men into madness or led them off the cliffs. Stories include ghostly figures seen on the island, strange lights in the sky, the island being cursed, a giant bird or sea creature attacking, a supernatural storm only the keepers could perceive. Of course, there's no evidence, but the lack of any rational explanation keeps this theory alive. There's a darker possibility. Some believe a ship or unknown visitors landed on the island, smugglers, deserters, or even violent criminals. A confrontation could have taken place, but no signs of struggle were found. Still, the missing life buoy and the chaotic landing platform leave room for speculation. A few theories have been proposed and widely dismissed. Abduction. They faked their deaths. They were kidnapped by foreign agents. A sea monster attack. Without evidence, most of these fall apart. But one thing remains true. 3 men went missing on a tiny island with nowhere to hide, and were never seen again. The official conclusion from the Northern Lighthouse Board was simple. A massive wave swept all 3 men into the sea. But even they admitted the case contained elements which cannot be fully explained. There was no sign of a struggle, no bodies ever washed ashore, no explanation for the bizarre log entries, and no storm recorded by anyone else. The disappearance remains officially unsolved. Over the next century, the Flannan Isles mystery inspired songs, poems, novels, horror stories, documentaries, even conspiracy theories. The lighthouse eventually became automated, its lonely beacon still flashing across the sea. But visitors say the island still feels wrong. Wind that seems to whisper, birds that fall silent without reason, and the lighthouse itself standing like a ghost of the men who vanished. Over 120 years later, the mystery remains. 3 men who vanished, a remote island, a silent lighthouse, and a perfectly normal day that ended with a disappearance no one can explain. What happened on the Flannan Isles? A freak wave? Madness? A supernatural event? Or something no one has even imagined yet? Until evidence emerges, the truth is still somewhere out there, lost in the wind, the waves, and the walls of a lighthouse that refuses to give up its secrets.